Point traders, what is going on? Thanks for joining me for the show. We're looking at Ethereum ETH on that ticker. Very nice big day out of all of crypto. We're looking at Bitcoin rallying over 5%, Ethereum basically at about 18% right now. So going to dive into this, especially ahead of this speculation announcement that we're increasing optimism from 25% all the way up to about a 75% approval for Ethereum ETH. Now, a lot of the markets are doing extremely well, but Ethereum definitely taking off days ahead of the announcement, whether or not we're going to see an Ethereum ETF. And so there's two big ETF analysts here that actually upped their speculative percentages from 25% all the way up to 75%. And that's been one of the big reasons that we've seen Ethereum just absolutely explode today, because there has been a lot more optimism and speculation that we're going to get an approval for the Ethereum ETF. Now, earlier over on Twitter or X, I actually made a post talking about how we already have a very nice structure for the Ethereum chart, and we're going to dive into that a bunch right now, especially as it does play and to impact based on the upcoming ETF decision. And so if you're not following me here over on Twitter or X, definitely drop me a follow. I post a lot more frequently and provide a lot of great updates as well. At @coin_trades is the handle. Looking forward to chatting with everyone over on Twitter or X. Now, I do want to look at this image, and I apologize if it's a little bit lower resolution, but we're looking at the deadlines for the announcement, basically, when the SEC is going to be given whether or not they are approving the Ethereum ETFs of various ones. So we know that we had a bunch for Bitcoin, for example, that got approved, and we obviously saw the impact on the charts for Bitcoin after that approval, as well as the months succeeding that. So obviously we can take that and apply it towards Ethereum, and that's kind of been one of the causes for a lot of this speculation and growth recently, especially on top of an otherwise extremely nice Ethereum chart setup for some of the longer terms here. So enough gabbing here, let's actually go ahead and look at the chart, and obviously huge upside day. Now, we would have had an upside movement anyway, but because we have had a very nice announcement based off of some recent SEC chatter, that's kind of why we're actually seeing this much hype and euphoria coming in. And if we actually shift down to the 1 hour chart, you can just see how over the last few hours, this has been when we did see all the volume come in to push prices just extremely high. So even within the last 3 hours that we got about a 15, almost 16% gain here. So plenty of upside based on that recent speculative announcement. And obviously it's not guaranteed. 75% is not 100. And obviously that's just speculation anyway. But to have two analysts kind of up their percentages from 25% of almost no based on some chatter up to 75, it's definitely a very good sign. And obviously we can't expect a lot more great things. And not only that, but it does obviously have a huge impact on this Ethereum chart. So with less than 2 hours to go, candles looking extremely nice, almost looking like a potential Marubozu pattern. Obviously got a little bit of an upside wick happening, so not fully quite just yet. But the fact that we haven't seen a lot of sell-off just yet just shows a lot of the strength in this move. And so it's not just a quick pump and then an immediate sell-off and reversal. We're actually seeing bulls be able to maintain such a large candle and magnitude, especially with an almost non-existent lower shadow that has been defending these lower exponential moving averages. Now, so because we were in a bearish setup where we had 50 on top, 26, and the 12 on the bottom, we're looking for that nice bullish cross, almost a certainty now based on the magnitude and the height above these exponential moving averages now that this candle does have. So for example, 50 period EMA all the way up to the current candle looking at almost 16% at about 15.88% to the upside from current prices to that 50 period EMA on this daily chart. So plenty of good signs, and obviously it will take a lot to actually prevent a nice bullish cross on this. So we can assume right now that this downtrend where we actually found rejection and resistance from these exponential moving averages on this pullback and this downside has now found some momentum to the upside, especially after we have broken a lot of previous technical resistances. And especially if we do close at this level, we will be breaking above a big previous level of closing resistance, which would be extremely big for the bulls here. Now, one of the things about the pattern is that we otherwise kind of were heading down in the shape of a falling triangle here, where we actually did have lower highs, yet maintaining a level of support coming in. So we were actually expecting a little bit more bearish pullback, typically from this type of setup. Now, obviously nothing is guaranteed. And now that we do have a breakout confirmation happening here, we are pretty sure that this is going to be the next leg of upside that we find for crypto, especially with bullish setups from Bitcoin and now Ethereum. So I want to actually flip over into the Ethereum and Bitcoin pairing chart here, and we did flip over to the weekly time frame. Specifically, do just want to talk about where we're sitting right now. So we actually found and bounced off a very big support level for the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing chart here, pretty much right at the 4550 Satoshi level, and obviously big point of support that we were looking at on the previous week that closed, big point of resistance looking left. So now, if we actually go up overhead though, we're looking at several different points, and specifically plenty of resistance going to be up overhead, which we have already experienced both in the current week as well as a few weeks ago. We did see rejection, and those line up perfectly with these exponential moving averages that are coming down. And then looking left as well, big points of support as well, and then looking all the way left, big point of support. So really, we're going to need to find enough momentum to break 5175 all the way up through 5390 Satoshis. So really, we would love to find a lot more follow through, not only on the current week, which unfortunately just started, but also on the following weeks that we do need to see, because otherwise it's going to be a struggle to get up to these resistance levels, as well as this big exponential moving average ribbon, and a big struggle because path of least resistance right now is still very much to the downside. Now, with that being said, if we actually go ahead and look at volume down here, a little bit of decreased volume that we have been seeing on both of these pullbacks. So basically, we're starting to think that a lot of the selling pressure is starting to get a little bit more exhausted here on this Ethereum Bitcoin pairing chart. And so if we can find a little bit more upside, especially in the speculative movements for Ethereum here, then we could actually find a lot of upside, which actually would be a lot more beneficial, especially if we see Ethereum rally harder than Bitcoin. That would definitely pump this price up in terms of the Bitcoin pairing here, which is exactly what we want to see, especially if we're looking at an incoming alt season. So now flipping over and looking at the Bitcoin dominance here, because if we actually see Ethereum continue to rally, especially stronger against Bitcoin, we're actually going to see this dominance start to pull back, which is typically what we find in these stronger, longer term bullish states. And so because we already saw the dominance breaking the 55% level, this is a very big level, and we were kind of expecting potentially a run up to about 60, but definitely around the 58 to 60 is going to be a very big resistance zone for dominance. But if we do see, especially with an Ethereum approval and a lot more buying and purchasing, pushing the prices up, especially higher with regards to the Bitcoin pairing, that's definitely going to be pushing this resistance, or excuse me, the dominance back down, which, like we said, typically happens in strong bull runs because that's when we get a lot of altcoin hype, which is what pulls down the dominance for Bitcoin. Now, with that said, too, looking at total two, which is the overall market cap space of all altcoins, including Ethereum, we're looking at a very nice breakout today, about 10%, especially holding a very, very nice chart setup, especially after coming off of the fall bottom and rally, where we were maintaining 12-period EMA, confirmed this back test, confirmed it once again, ultimately broke it, but still maintained support in between the 12 and 26. So very, very nice, strong weekly structure here for this crypto chart for all of the altcoin market caps. And so especially now, seeing a lot more upside, especially with downside decreased selling pressure on this pullback while maintaining supports, a lot more good and bullish signs coming out of this chart. So really, we are going to be eyeing the current trend high, which is going to be just over the 1.22 trillion mark here. So with a current market cap for altcoins of 1.134, not too much more to go before we actually break that, especially with a lot of altcoin projects now coming in, providing a lot of opportunity. So less than 8%, about 7.75 here before finding a new trend high. Effectively, obviously, we will be looking at 1.271 here as the main trend high, but realistically, we're looking at the big point where we didn't find a close on top of, especially with these lower wicks here on these current candles, which actually were peaking around the end of March here. So about 2 months or so that we have seen for this pullback, but still maintaining and stabilizing, especially when we look at these weeks after the main capitulation found our low and started to find higher lows. So a very nice consolidation pattern setup while we were maintaining very nice structure and support in between the 12 and 26 period EMAs. Okay, so now looking at the Ethereum weekly chart as well, and this is mostly what I was referring to on my Twitter or my X when we talked about the structure of Ethereum right now. So very clearly defined downtrend level, but if we actually zoom in here, a lot of lower shadows, so a lot of dip buying anytime prices kept getting pushed lower. So a very good sign, especially when we do have supports being defended in between 12 and 26 as well on this Ethereum weekly chart. So very nice confirmation backtest of 12-period EMA. Once we actually had our pullback, lost that, we did find a very strong maintaining and closing support above the 26, which is exactly what we find in these type of strong markets, where even though we lose one, typically when we do find a needed pullback, we will confirm the next support to the downside based on the EMA band. So for example, if we actually rally up and don't see a new higher high and pull back, which isn't necessarily the most likely right now, we would actually be relying on the 50 period at worst to be providing that support. But right now, especially given the magnitude of upside for this Ethereum move, we're not necessarily looking at some of these lower supports just yet, which pretty much have been defending strongly just below the $3,000 psychological level. Now, next big thing I want to look at on this Ethereum weekly chart is pulling up technicals here, specifically looking at stochastic RSI. Very nice bullish cross here, especially after getting smashed up just above the 0 line, coming in just above the 3 as well. So the last time we actually saw prices, or excuse me, the stochastic RSI this low, we were actually looking at just before our fall rally started here, back at the end of September and early October here. And obviously from there at this point, we saw a very nice uptrend starting. So if we can get that follow through like we're looking for, we have the opportunity to see a lot more higher highs, especially if the ETF does end up getting approved. We're absolutely going to see this thing take off and see a lot of new higher highs, as well as probably an inevitable all-time high here coming in before too long. So speaking of all-time highs, let's go ahead and look at a price gain for that up to the all-time highs, only about a 33% move to the upside from current prices at 3,649. So not too much, and obviously still a struggle, but not necessarily impossible to do given the amount of legwork that we do have. So plenty of resistances up overhead. First, we're going to have one come in just shy of the $4,000 level. And then above that, obviously, we are going to find up to about 46.30, and then all the way up to our current all-time high right now, just shy of the $5,000 psychological. But if we do want to go ahead and moonboy and find some hopium, then we can actually take a Fibonacci extension here from the high to the low. And if we do see a continuation of this move, 1.618 extension would be 7,323, which is not necessarily that outrageous of a move for Ethereum right now, and percentage-wise would be about 100% gain. So definitely likely and within the realm of possibility, especially for this type of cycle. From the trend low, that would end up being about a 700% gain, so about an 8x return. So definitely if we find a nice favorable outcome for this ETF announcement and we find a lot of institutional buying, that'll definitely help push up the price as well as the relation on the Bitcoin pairing, as well as pull down on the dominance, which is exactly what we want to see. So hopefully a lot of the speculation and optimism regarding the ETF announcement can come back favorable for the bulls, and it would actually be extremely bullish for the rest of the altcoin space as well. So like we mentioned here on the weekly as well, pulling back for the last couple months on this pullback, so confirming a very nice flag type pattern, bouncing off of these supports, and then now finding our very, very nice strong breakout, and hopefully we will get a lot of that follow through in the coming days here. Volume is 246.99, basically 247, and the previous week just hit 500,000. So we're already almost at the previous bullish week's volume, and we're only just not even quite a full day into the current candle here on this weekly time frame. So plenty of volume to be coming in. So we know that we will be getting an increase in volume from the previous week. Very good sign for this extremely nice breakout here. So overall, extremely exciting times right now for the bulls. Congrats. We haven't seen a 20% Ethereum day in a very long time. So definitely exciting. And hopefully tomorrow we will still be getting the follow through. Obviously with this much upside and we haven't been seeing this type of gains lately, we know that there is possibility of a little bit more sell-off, especially if we do get an unfavorable announcement in a few days when we do find out about the ETF announcement coming up here on the 23rd. Overall, though, a lot of these changes have been extremely great for the structure of a lot of the cryptos and altcoin space, and we do have strong structures coming out of Bitcoin as well. So a very good confirmation of continuation of bullish action in this typical crypto market here. So especially after a couple months of pullback and uncertainty, definitely nice to see a lot of changes and a lot more of this bullish optimism coming back into the crypto and altcoin space right now. Would definitely love to know everyone's thoughts down in the comment sections below, what you think will happen with the ETF and whether or not we will see an approval or not. But otherwise, that is going to go ahead and wrap up the show for today. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe if you have not done so just yet. And don't forget to drop me a follow over on Twitter or X at coin_trades. That is going to go ahead and do it and wrap us up for now, though. So appreciate all the continuous love and support, as always. Does mean so much. Stay safe, take care, coin traders, and I'll catch you back in the next video.